Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Here we go. We're looking at one of my favorites, Beautiful Boy. It's a good looking film in terms of cinematography. Lots of little solves that we've talked about in the past. Today we're going to be looking at one that it really is the third variable or the third option in the framing and blocking system, right? You got your bar scene, you've got your office scene. This next one is the dining room table scene. Now you're probably saying, what is that? What? There's a framing system? There's a technique for blocking? Like, this doesn't make any sense. I know I'm supposed to put my eye on the eyepiece and I'm supposed to adjust the iris and then I call out a few things and that's the job of the cinematographer. Maybe if you're not good. If you are good, you're going to think about these things because these are the things that actually move the needle. These are the things that are going to make a difference to someone who's actually watching. Does anybody care about the exposure? Sure they do. Can you get it wrong by about 4 stops on any modern camera? Of course you can. Should you be clipping anything? No. As soon as you learn those basics, you can pretty much spray and pray exposure-wise, right? Probably not the best thing to do, but if you're working with a great colorist, you could probably get away with lots. What you can't go back and redo is the blocking and the framing. So you got to think about these things ahead of time. So then you can cut anybody off at the pass, any talent or director that says, you know what would be a good idea? What if we do this scene and 4 people see it on the same side of a booth, or everybody has their back to the main light source? Like, those are the red flags where you go, wait a second, I see where this is going, right? I see where this path is going to lead us to, and it's a place of flat, terrible images. I don't want to be associated with flat, terrible images, and I know for the past year, every project that I've shot, I've buried it. I would like to end that streak. I don't want to bury every single thing that I shoot because that doesn't show a track record of me getting any better. And I can't live with myself like that. So Lord knows, when your entire life is crumbling around you, at least be good at your job, right? That's the one thing that you can do. You can spend a little bit of energy, get better at it. How hard could it possibly be? Look at how many people are doing it. Are you going to be the only one that's dog shit? I hope not. So what we're doing today is we're looking at this dining room table concept of there's really 2 options you have. You can be inside of the circle or you can be outside of the circle. Like, Patrick, I don't know what that means. Of course you don't. Why would you? I just made up these terms. But you're about to find out and you'll see why they're important. Or maybe you won't. And then you will shoot one day inside the circle and you'll be like, well, it doesn't look that great. Why is everything going so poorly today? Why is my life terrible? And then hopefully you cue up this little memory right now, right? This should be a core memory. You watching me tell you that you're going to have a future memory, which is going to be not good because you decided to shoot inside of the circle. Let's go. Okay, this next one, you already know what's coming. You should just buy this makeup, right? In the first 2 seconds of seeing this setup here, you know the exact lighting setup, right? We've got an overhead. We want to push the overhead so that it's farther away from the camera than the closest talent, right? This is the closest talent. So we want the overhead to be that way, closer towards the wall. We want it over there. But in this case, because it's very, very, like, it's not a big room, so the wall is just there. So we know we're gonna need a few things, right? Apart from the curtains, shears, right? We know we're gonna have this set up for sure, because we don't wanna be blowing out there, be distracted from whatever's out there. So we're gonna go shears. We're gonna go practicals on inside as well, why not? We are going to have to skirt this really, really well to keep any level from hitting this wall and becoming distracting. Because you can imagine, if this is a white wall and the light is, instead of stopping, you know, like down here somewhere, right? It's up here, we've got a skirt on it to stop it from going back towards the wall. If it didn't have that and this was all lit up, it becomes really, really flat. We want to pull the characters away from the background. And when we're on such a wide lens, even on an Alexa with a 1.3 anamorphic, you're not going to get the separation between Steve and the wall, right? I think we've worked enough with Steve now just to call him Steve. Between him and the wall, it's just too close. You're not going to have enough separation. Maybe you could get away with it on the LF, right? That bigger sensor might help just to pull it away a little bit. But then you might lose her in the foreground so much. It's now a battle of, okay, what do we actually want in focus? So you already know the lighting setup, up from above, as soft as you can make it, and direction down, right? So you put a little grid on there so the light doesn't escape and bounce everywhere. And then you balance that room tone to whatever is out here, because this is what you can't control, right? You can control a little bit through using the shears, but not much, right? You're just sort of there. So your ambient, which is your key, your top light, has to be balanced to those windows, right? You set that window level first, then everything else works backwards from there. Now, this is going to be an interesting one because they actually choose, normally when we talk about this dining room table scene, and you can see the lighting setup as they walk into it, we always talk about these dining room scenes, like if you're going to go the Bradford Young way, you're going to be outside of the circle, right? You want to be shooting outside of the circle. Well, this is actually inside of the circle. I'll show you what that means right here. So this guy right here, he's talking to our friend over here. We are on the shoulder closest to the table, right? So the table, you have to figure is, or we're going to call it a table, like we're eating dinner, right? There's no table in this situation, but this is the same scenario as a dining room table scene. So if this guy is talking to this guy, right, he's going to turn his shoulders like this and talk this way. Hello, I'm talking to you. And if he's talking to the person over here, he's going to turn his shoulders this way, right? Well, if we are on the shoulder closest to the table, this is not shooting outside of the circle. This is shooting inside of the circle because we're inside here. We're closest to the light source. So the way to do it here depends on who your character is and identifying whose scene it is and whose shoulder are we going to play off of most, and then deciding, okay, are we going to play inside the circle or outside the circle? Because outside the circle, it comes back to that upstage lighting. You can be a lot more, what's the word? You can be significantly worse as a cinematographer and get nice results. Going the other way is harder. Going this way, which he's chosen, is harder to do because it takes a lot more to make it look nice. So even still, like, okay, even if we're shooting inside the circle, right? We've still got all this shape on him, right? There's still, like, for this particular shot, if we're not doing somebody else's shot, like say we're not doing these guys, we're not cross shooting, we're not shooting Steve at the same time we're shooting these people. Even more so than in the wide, we want to take this above light source and push it that way. Push it upstage so that you get this, right? This light is the top key light, right? And maybe you can add something from the ground, like a little poly or something, just to help wrap it up a little bit. But we want this. We want this light coming here. We want this light coming here. And we don't want to clip, right? We got a little highlight in the background. Again, really dark. Oh man, big pen. Really dark walls, right? All of that is good. We keep going. And we're going to cut to them. Okay, now this, to them, that is outside, right? Because we've got like our little circle scenario is happening right in here. And we never really cut over to this lady. So this is the outside. And what ends up happening is what's happening on Steve's face, right? You get this fall off from light on this side to dark on this side. Her, but she's turned so flat, you don't really get it, right? But that's the idea. So we're outside here, and then here, inside, outside. And cut to, these guys are going to have an interaction back and forth. And this is where we choose, we're fully inside. Okay, see? Same. This shoulder is closer to the middle of the table. So we've gone inside shoulder on him. Now this is the hardest angle to light in this entire one, right? Because we've had all this level coming this way in the previous shots. Now we want to subtly change it to make it actually look nice without changing it so much that the light now is coming from this direction, right? Because that wouldn't work. The jump would be too obvious. So now the job is, how do you make this look good while looking directly at where the light was previously coming from? And that's why it's hard. Again, also, we're lighting up this shoulder, right? Because the light is coming from over here. So technically this should be lit up. So it's a game of balancing. You can't just leave it. You have to come up with some sort of solution for lighting them up. But if we talk other framing things, right? Like, okay, taking up a huge chunk of real estate inside the door frame, little highlight in the background, breaking it up again. Then we've got this little highlight up here, which is nice. And again, little tiny eye light. We've got our leak of daylight in here. And then we've got our warm tungsten practical from above. Keep going, we'll see the reverse. Go, 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 where is it? Same thing. Okay, see, now we're shoulder closest to the table. You see how messy the light has to get. Not that it doesn't look good, it's just, it gets messier, right? It gets harder to do and messier. But again, like, if we're talking about where to line up Steve in this situation, once we're out of the wide, we really have, you have 2 or 3 feet left and right that you can move people, especially the shallower that you go. You can move them all around. Here, we don't want this prac, invading his head. We want him in this little frame here. Again, we've got shoulder shooting into non-white walls and just everything we can do to help pull them out. All right, and this is just, well, let's run a little bit of blue light down the side here, and we'll use our tungsten overhead, but not making it too pretty. Again, I think there's in every one of these shots throughout the entire movie, there's an eye light for Steve Carell. But that's one of those choices where as soon as you decide, okay, we're going to go on the inside here, rather than the option to flop the side of the line, is when we go from this look back to this look, right? That's when you could go flop it to the other side. Right there, that cut. We could create a completely new line because now we've got these two different conversations happening. Oh my Lord. Yep. So you got two options, inside, outside, you decide. You want to make it hard on yourself? You want to make it tricky? Shoot inside. You want to make it easy? Shoot outside. It's up to you, right? And I know some people don't like me saying easy. It shouldn't be about easy, Patrick. This is cinematography. This is telling a story. These are people's things that you must share and everything. You know, just imagine the kids that are going to be watching this. Yeah, I guess. Or just make things look nice and then everybody's happy and you're happy too and life is good and you're winning and your significant other loves you and you can spend the rest of your days living out your dream or not. The choice is yours. I would say choose carefully. That's going to do it for this one. Many thanks. We'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.